The women wanted to be her, and the men came to see her when Sable was under the bright lights, but the real life of Rena Lesnar hasn't always been enviable. The then Rena Greek married Wayne Richardson in 1987. The two had a daughter and remained together until Richardson died in a drunk driving accident in 1991. She met her second husband, former boxer and up-and-coming professional wrestler Mark Marrow, in 1993. Sable told the Ottawa Sun that their romance began when Marrow sent a handwritten note to her table at a restaurant. The couple tied the knot in 1994 after a few months of dating. Sable's first real angle in WWE involved Marrow when he saw her being mistreated backstage by Hunter Hearst Helmsley at WrestleMania 12 in 1996. Marrow attacked Helmsley and took his real-life wife on as his manager. Sable remained at Marrow's side in storyline until 1997, but became a star in the company on her own while he was out rehabbing from an injury throughout the following year. The two eventually split in storyline after Marrow caused his wife to lose an evening gown match against rival Luna Vachon at Unforgiven 1998. Sable called out her husband following his interference. A few weeks later, the Marrows faced off on Raw and she hit him with a Sable bomb. The angle added fuel to the couple's real-life marital issues, with Sable becoming increasingly more popular than her husband. Following their on-screen split, Marrow took Jacqueline as his manager and the two women feuded. Upon Sable's return to WWE in 2003, she started a romantic relationship with Brock Lesnar while still married to Marrow. Marrow revealed that he found out about Sable's affair with Lesnar while listening to his wife's voicemails. They got divorced in 2004.
We've never said a bad word about each other. I have nothing bad to say other than, that you think about the good memories that you had together.
Sable had backstage heat throughout her wrestling career, in part because she was never actually trained to compete in the ring. Many women resented her for her push, especially when the Blonde Beauty won the Women's Championship at the end of 1998. Luna Vachon particularly couldn't stand Sable, but she was asked to help train her ahead of her in-ring debut. WWE officials reportedly threatened to fire Vachon if she injured their new Golden Goose star. Backstage reports say that Vachon never got the credit she deserved for training Sable. Vachon allegedly continued to make snide comments about Sable not paying her dues, and Sable reportedly refused to drop the Women's Championship to her because of it.
She was being the bully, and sometimes they don't always come out on top.
Troubled fellow diva Sunny had plenty of issues with Sable backstage too. Former WWE head of talent relations Jim Ross talked about the heat between the women on an episode of his Grilling JR podcast in 2020. He said Sable inadvertently stiffed Sunny in the eye with a slap because she was so inexperienced in the ring, and things escalated from there.
I think Sunny overreacted. She got potated. Big deal. That's part of the game.
Ross added that Sunny initially had a monopoly as the company's top diva and may have felt threatened by Sable's popularity. A confrontation between the two wasn't exactly a surprise. Ross said it was what anyone expected to happen, and that's the way things were back in the day, especially in the women's locker room. Sable also had real-life heat with Chyna. The two were top stars at the same time in the late 1990s, but couldn't have been more different. Sable was the virtually untrained blonde beauty, and Chyna was a mega powerhouse, mixing it up with the guys in the ring. Both Sable and Chyna held the company's women's championship only once, but Chyna surpassed Sable in the gold department thanks to her runs with the Intercontinental Championship. Their real-life hatred for each other even spilled out into the mainstream media at one point. The pair got into a real argument on live TV when they both appeared on a TSN talk show alongside Deborah to promote events around WrestleMania 15. The host asked Chyna why she wouldn't be challenging for Sable's women's championship, and she replied she had no interest in the belt, claiming she could beat the champion in 2 seconds. Sable fired back.
I work out just as hard as you do, but I do not supplement my body the way you do either.
The clear implication there was that Chyna had used steroids. Chyna fired back at Sable, calling her breasts supplements, referring to implants. The pair stared holes into each other as the host awkwardly threw the show to a commercial break. Sable and Chyna never settled their real-life differences in the ring. Sable left the company just 4 months after the TV showdown. Most of the locker room reportedly sided with Chyna in the feud. Sable's thinly veiled accusation of steroid use wasn't taken lightly behind the scenes. Chyna left WWE in 2001 when the company didn't meet her financial demands. Some of the men in the WWE locker room weren't too keen on the amount of screen time Sable was getting either. D-Generation X member Sean Waltman, better known as X-Pac, played a gruesome prank on the star. Former WWE head writer Vince Russo described the rib on an episode of Sportskeeda's The Bro Show, calling it the worst thing he ever heard, and said it was still awful to him to this day. Waltman admitted what he did, putting poop in Sable's bag on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast.
I made the deposit, and I ran as fast as I could back to Gorilla.
Jim Ross even had to get involved as head of talent relations. Waltman also revealed Sable only became aware when she went through customs at the airport while traveling home. X-Pac was informed by WWE officials that Sable's attorneys were considering taking legal action, which they soon did following her departure. After leaving WWE, Sable took legal action against the company in a Connecticut federal court to the tune of $110 million. She also wanted the right to retain the Sable name and profits from all future merchandising involving her sports entertainment moniker. Sable accused the company of unsafe working conditions and alleged sexual harassment while she was employed. The allegation of unsafe working conditions was filed just after the accidental death of Owen Hart at the Over the Edge pay-per-view in May 1999. Sable also said in the suit that the backstage environment of the company was fueled by steroid rage. After filing the lawsuit, Sable did an interview with TV Guide discussing the alleged steroid use among wrestlers, the incident involving feces in her bag, as well as peepholes between the men's and women's locker rooms. She said, "I can't say for certain, but it's common knowledge that you do not look like the people in our sport without enhancement. The wrestlers, the crew that we count on to set up the ring and the ramp, I believe may be on drugs." The lawsuit was fraught with behind-the-scenes information and allegations against WWE. The former women's champion claimed she was asked to wrestle topless against Deborah on an episode of Raw, but refused due to the sizable group of children and teenagers who watched the program. The suit went on to allege other additional instances of sexual harassment, including pressure to participate in storylines Sable deemed inappropriate, as well as do things she deemed dangerous. She told ET at the time, if asked to do those things again,
I think the way that wrestling is today, the industry is, I think that I would have to say no.
Sable reduced the amount of monetary damages she was seeking, and she and WWE settled her lawsuit out of court in August 1999. When it came to the use of the name Sable, she used her real name, Rena Mero, at the time, for her special Playboy's Wrestling Superstar issue. Jim Ross explained on an episode of his Grilling Jr. podcast that WWE was blindsided by Sable's suit. He said he personally never saw the lawsuit coming at the time and called it a nuisance lawsuit.
I thought the lawsuit was put in place so she could get a release, and that would be the negotiating chip she needed to walk.
After about 4 years away from the company, Sable returned to WWE in April 2003. Things were very different for her upon her return. She was no longer the company's top female star. Sable often played second fiddle to Tori Wilson in storylines, whether it was feuding with the fellow blonde beauty in matches and bikini contests, teaming up in a tag team, or gracing the cover of Playboy magazine for her third time alongside Wilson. Sable was also given the role of Vince McMahon's mistress in a feud against the boss's daughter, Stephanie McMahon. Despite Sable alleging sexual harassment and being asked to do things she was uncomfortable with in the lawsuit just years before her return, at one point during the feud, her breasts were exposed on live television during a parking lot brawl with Stephanie, who ripped off Sable's top. Sable went on to have various feuds and character changes during her very short return to the company, which lasted only through 2004. Sable's career with WWE officially ended in August 2004, but they split on good terms the second time around. Sable claimed that she left the company to spend more time with her family, though her exit seemingly came at the behest of her current husband. In Brock Lesnar's memoir, Death Clutch, My Story of Determination, Domination, and Survival, Lesnar wrote that before he could marry his love, he needed to get her out of WWE. He wrote that he told her that neither one of them could work for the company due to long-term side effects of everything there. Lesnar called it his only demand of Sable, while acknowledging the fact that his soon-to-be wife had worked hard to get back into WWE and was now giving up her career for him.
What we've actually done with our life now is try to simplify it a little bit. It makes it a lot easier.
That said, their relationship wasn't all sunshine and rainbows after Sable left WWE. The couple broke off their engagement in 2005 before getting back together in January 2006. They married in May of that year. Following their nuptials and the birth of their two sons, Turk and Duke, Sable removed herself from the public eye almost entirely, outside of a few times when her husband fought in the UFC and made other public appearances. Sable has never made another on-screen appearance for WWE, despite Lesnar's multiple returns and runs with the company. There have never been rumors of her appearing backstage to visit her husband either. Sable doesn't use social media, keeping both her and her children's lives extremely private. The family currently lives on a farm in Saskatchewan, Canada. In January 2024, former WWE employee Janel Grant filed a lawsuit naming Vince McMahon, former WWE head of talent relations John Laurinaitis, and WWE itself as defendants. Among its claims were charges of sex trafficking. Sable's husband, Brock Lesnar, was not named as a defendant, nor was his name used in the complaint, but he was implicated. Lesnar was allegedly promised a sexual interaction with Grant upon his re-signing with the company. The Wall Street Journal directly identified Lesnar as the former UFC heavyweight champion described in the suit. This led to Lesnar being reportedly dropped from creative plans in WWE, including those for the 2024 Royal Rumble and WrestleMania 40. Since the lawsuit was filed, Lesnar has not appeared on WWE programming. His name has been mentioned as recently as the Money in the Bank event in July 2024, though, suggesting that he hasn't been totally blacklisted. Sable, as private as ever in recent years, has not publicly commented on the allegations, and neither has her husband. WWE Chief Creative Officer Paul Triple H Levesque confirmed that Lesnar is still with WWE, though he didn't comment on his alleged involvement in the Grant case. As of the making of this video, the battle between WWE and Grant rages on, as the federal government is investigating McMahon. If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE-4673.